Good day and welcome to my channel. Please subscribe for more. Thank you. The iron gates loomed tall in front of Ella Monroe, cold and unwelcoming, like the man she was about to meet. The wind rustled through the towering trees that flanked the driveway, carrying with it the scent of pine and old wealth. The estate behind the gate was more than just a home, it was a fortress of silence and sorrow. But she had signed the contract. 3 months. Live in care. No quitting, no exceptions. She adjusted the strap of her modest leather bag and swallowed her nerves. A black intercom crackled. Name: Ella Monroe. I'm the new private nurse for Mr. Whitmore, she said, voice steady, even as her hands trembled slightly. The voice didn't respond for a long moment. Then, with a click and a groan, the gates opened slowly. She stepped forward, the weight of the unknown heavy on her shoulders. Liam Whitmore. Billionaire CEO. Tech genius. Crippled in a car crash. A recluse since. Rumors said he hadn't smiled in 2 years. Others said he hadn't loved in longer. The estate was breathtaking. A blend of Victorian architecture and modern luxury, the mansion rose like a painting from the earth, stone walls cloaked in ivy, windows tall and distant, balconies that overlooked a garden left to wildness. She was greeted at the front door by a short woman in her 50s with a stern face softened only slightly by her eyes. I'm Greta, housekeeper. You'll report to me. Don't get in Mr. Whitmore's way unless he asks for you. He's difficult. Ella nodded. Understood. He stays in the West Wing. You're in the East. Meals are at 7, lunch at noon, dinner at 6. He won't come out. You'll take food to his study. Will he let me in? Greta snorted. He'll barely let the wind in. That night, she prepared his dinner, grilled salmon, asparagus, and a small glass of red wine. She balanced the tray and knocked on the heavy oak door of his study. No response. She tried again. Mr. Whitmore. I'm Ella, your new nurse. A beat. Then a deep voice came from behind the door. Leave it outside. She hesitated. If you're in pain, I brought your medication. You didn't take it at breakfast or lunch. Silence. Then the door opened. Just an inch. She could barely see him through the gap, but she caught the sharp blue of his eyes, the shadowed stubble along his jaw, and the crisp line of a black shirt stretched over broad shoulders. He sat in a wheelchair. I said, leave it. His voice was low, cold. Her heart clenched, but she nodded. Of course. She set the tray down and turned away. But before she left, she whispered, almost to herself, you don't have to be alone, you know. The door slammed shut. The days followed a rhythm. She cooked, cleaned, and charted his medications. He remained distant, barely speaking. When he did, his tone was clipped and transactional. But Ella had seen pain in his eyes. Not just physical, but deep emotional wounds. One evening. A storm rolled in. Thunder cracked above the estate like God was tearing through the sky. The power flickered, then died. Ella lit candles and headed toward the study. She knocked. No answer. She turned the handle and peeked in. Liam was by the window, staring into the darkness. The stormlight cast shadows across his face, sharp, elegant, broken. I brought candles, she said softly. And tea. He didn't turn. I don't need pity. It's not pity. It's chamomile. That got a flicker of a smirk, barely there. But she saw it. She set the candle down and was about to leave when he spoke again. They all left. After the accident. My fiancé. My friends. Even my own company turned its back. She turned slowly. But you're still here. He finally faced her, eyes gleaming with a sadness she'd never seen before. Sometimes, I wish I wasn't. Ella stepped closer. You don't get to give up, Liam. It was the first time she'd used his name. He looked at her for a long time. Then whispered, why not? She bent down, until they were eye level. Because someone out there still needs you. Someone you haven't even met yet. He stared at her like she was a puzzle he didn't know how to solve. She left the candle burning. Weeks passed. Ella became a familiar presence in his life. She told him stories about her childhood, her dreams of becoming a doctor, her love for old books and classical music. Slowly, his responses became more than grunts. He asked questions. He teased. He even laughed once, and it took her breath away. He began coming to the dinner table again, only when it was just the two of them. He started physical therapy sessions, reluctantly at first, then with growing commitment. And most nights, they'd sit in the library, reading in silence, yet never truly alone. One night, as the fire crackled between them, he said quietly, "You remind me of the way I used to be. Before everything broke." She looked at him, her heart swelling. "You're not broken, Liam. You keep saying that. Because it's true." He turned to her. "And what if I start believing you?" She smiled. "Then we'll take it one day at a time." He reached for her hand. And for the first time in years, Liam Whitmore let someone in. The air inside the Whitmore estate shifted the moment Liam rolled into the music room. It had been Ella's idea. She'd found the old piano while dusting, its ivory keys yellowed, its cover blanketed in neglect. But she didn't need to be told it had once been important. The moment her fingers brushed the lid, she knew, someone used to pour their soul into this instrument. So she waited. Left the cover open. Polished the keys. Set a candle on top of it. And tonight, for the first time, Liam rolled toward it. He didn't say a word. Just stared. Ella sat across the room, pretending to be immersed in a book, but she wasn't reading. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears. She didn't move, didn't speak, afraid one wrong word would break the fragile moment blooming between them. Liam reached out and pressed a single note. It was soft. Hesitant. Then another. A melody crept out. Broken at first. Then smoother. Gentle. Soulful. He played. Ella lowered the book and simply listened. It was like watching a ghost come back to life. When the music stopped, silence wrapped around them like silk. Ella walked to the piano, drawn by something deeper than logic. She stood beside him, heart thudding. "You used to play." Liam gave a dry laugh. "Once. Before everything felt hollow." "It doesn't sound hollow," she whispered. "It sounds like someone's still fighting." He looked up at her. And in that single moment, under the soft light of the candle, with music still lingering in the air, their eyes locked. Something passed between them. Something raw. Something real. He reached for her hand. She let him. The storm had broken out again, loud, untamed, but inside, the warmth between them was unbearable. They were by the fireplace now. The piano long behind them. Ella wrapped in a shawl. Liam in a plain black shirt, sleeves rolled up, arms tense on the wheels of his chair. "I used to believe love made me weak," he said, voice low. "It distracted me. Made me blind." Ella didn't respond. She let him talk. That was the thing about Liam, when he finally opened up, his words were like rivers, deep and dangerous. "She left me because I was broken. My own fiancé. She told me she couldn't bear a life pushing a chair." Ella flinched. "She said she didn't sign up for this version of me. That she wanted the man who could climb mountains and take her dancing. Not the one who needed help to shower." Ella knelt beside him. "Then she was never in love with you." Just the fantasy of you. His eyes welled up, then blinked it away. She reached out and gently touched his cheek. I don't see a broken man when I look at you. You should. I won't. Their breath mingled. And then it happened. He kissed her. It was slow. Deliberate. A silent question and a reckless answer. Ella melted into him, not out of pity or desperation, but because the ache in her chest wouldn't leave her alone. It was desire. Hope. Fear. Love. All colliding. That night, they didn't sleep apart. There were no declarations. No confessions. In the dark. Liam had never let anyone touch him like that since the accident. But with Ella, his guard fell. She didn't flinch when she saw his scars. She didn't pull away when he... Instead, the places he was most ashamed of. Held him when... And in return, he worshipped her like she was sunlight after a decade of shadows. When morning came, everything was still. The first rays of dawn filtered through the curtains, casting golden light across the bed. Ella lay awake beside him, heart racing. She knew this changed everything. She could no longer pretend to be just the nurse. Her. And judging by the way Liam still held her, knew it too. But there was fear. What if he regretted it? What if she did? She slipped out of bed quietly, dressing slowly, not wanting to wake him. But he stirred anyway. Leaving? His voice was husky from sleep. I should get breakfast ready. He sat up, watching her, reading her. I don't regret last night, he said. She turned. I don't either, she whispered. But I think we both need time. To think. He didn't stop her. Back in the kitchen, Greta noticed the change immediately. You look like someone just stepped off a cliff, she said, handing Ella a bowl of fruit. Ella gave a tight smile. Something like that. Greta paused. Then gently patted her arm. Mr. Whitmore's been alone a long time. He doesn't open up easily. If he let you in, even a little, it means something. Ella looked down at her hands. It means everything. That's what scares me. But nothing, could have prepared her for the moment, 3 weeks later, when she stood in a tiny guest bathroom upstairs, holding a plastic stick. 2 blue lines. Positive. She sank to the floor. Tears spilled silently down her cheeks. Her whole body trembled. She was pregnant. And not just pregnant, she knew. Somehow, she knew this wasn't just one child. Her body felt full. Overwhelmed. A deep, maternal instinct whispered to her. There was more than one heartbeat. More than one soul. 3, to be exact. Triplets. And Liam, he had no idea. Ella had never felt so many emotions at once, joy, fear, awe, and heartbreak, swirling inside her like a storm that wouldn't settle. The pregnancy test still lay on the bathroom sink, like a witness to a truth she could no longer escape. Triplets. She hadn't told a soul. Not even Greta, who had grown suspicious of Ella's sudden nausea and change in appetite. Ella had always been careful, always calm. But now, her body was changing fast, and her emotions even faster. Every morning, she stood at the mirror and whispered to herself, "You can do this." But could she? Not alone. Later that week, she was in the garden, cutting rosemary for the evening meal when Grace Whitmore, Liam's younger sister, joined her with 2 cups of juice. "You look pale," Grace said, handing her a glass. "You okay?" Ella forced a smile. "Just didn't sleep much." Grace narrowed her eyes. "You're glowing, though." Ella froze. Glowing? She turned her face away. I think it's just the sun. Grace wasn't convinced. She tilted her head and grinned, suspicious but amused. You tell me if something was wrong, right? Ella didn't answer. She couldn't. Because the truth was, something wasn't wrong. Something was growing. 3 lives inside her. And she didn't even know how to begin telling the father. That night, Liam invited her to dinner. A private one, in the formal dining room. He'd arranged the candles himself. Greta told her he even practiced the route from his room to the dining table twice that afternoon. When she entered, her breath caught in her throat. The long oak table had been set beautifully. Liam sat at one end, his black shirt crisp, sleeves rolled up, eyes softer than she'd ever seen them. You look stunning, he said. She wore a pale peach dress, loose at the waist. Her curls were tied back, and she wore no makeup, yet his gaze held nothing but reverence. So do you, she replied, voice low. They ate. Talked. Laughed. And for a moment, everything felt normal. It was just a man and a woman, sharing a quiet meal in the golden light of the chandelier. But beneath the table, Ella's hand rested on her stomach. She had to tell him. She wanted to tell him. But how do you say, I'm pregnant with your children, to a man still learning how to love again? The moment came unexpectedly. After dinner, they sat in the lounge. Liam had music playing softly in the background, Ella Fitzgerald. A classic. He looked at her, brows furrowed in thought. I want to try again, he said. Ella turned. Try. At life. At hope. With you. She blinked back tears. You make it all feel possible again, Ella. I know last month happened unexpectedly, and maybe you regret it. I don't, she whispered, cutting him off. His eyes searched hers. She inhaled sharply. Liam, there's something you need to know. His face went still. She opened her mouth, then froze as her stomach turned violently. Without warning, she rushed out of the room. He followed as quickly as he could, wheeling after her down the hallway. He reached the bathroom just as she shut the door and leaned over the sink. He waited outside, helpless. When she came out, she looked pale, lips trembling. I'm sorry, she said. Ella, what's going on? She took his hands. I was going to tell you. I just needed to find the right moment. What is it? I'm pregnant. His eyes widened. Silence. Anne, it's not one baby. It's 3. She let the words settle like stones in a still lake. Liam's chest rose, then stilled. For a moment, he looked away, eyes glazed, mind racing. Then he looked at her again. Triplets. She nodded, tears spilling freely now. I didn't plan for this, Liam. I swear. I just. He pulled her close. Held her. Tighter than she expected. Why didn't you tell me sooner? He asked softly. I was scared. Of what you'd think. That you'd leave. That you'd hate me. He pulled back slightly, just enough to look into her eyes. I may not be able to stand, he whispered, but I swear I'll stand by you. Tears flooded her face. I want this, Ella. I want you. I want them. She sobbed into his shoulder. I love you, he murmured. I don't know when it started. But I do. She clutched him like she'd never let go. I love you too. In the days that followed, everything changed. Grace screamed with joy when she found out. She practically lifted Ella off the ground, despite Greta warning her to be careful with her condition. Vivian, Liam's grandmother, cried when Liam told her. 3 babies. Lord, you're making up for lost time, she exclaimed, hugging both of them. Even Edward Whitmore, Liam's stern and emotionally distant father, paid an unexpected visit. He stood in the parlor, arms crossed. "You've always been stubborn," he said to Liam. "But for once, I'm glad of it." Then he looked at Ella. "She's the best thing that's ever happened to you." Liam nodded. "I know. But not everything was perfect." As Ella's belly grew, so did the whispers, especially outside the house. People said she trapped Liam. That she was after his wealth. That the babies were a scandal waiting to happen. Liam ignored it all. Shielded her. Loved her louder. And for Ella, every time she heard the tiny fluttering heartbeats on the ultrasound, she knew. This love, this life, was worth everything. The media didn't wait long. Liam had tried to keep the news quiet, but in the world of billionaires and whispers, secrets had a way of slipping through cracks. One grainy photo, Ella stepping out of the hospital with a visible bump, was all it took. The headline hit social media like a bomb. Crippled tech billionaire expecting triplets with former nurse. Ella woke up to her name trending on X. Her phone buzzed with news alerts, gossip blogs, and even old classmates texting her with fake excitement. She sat frozen on the edge of the bed, the world closing in, her hand unconsciously wrapped protectively around her belly. Liam came in moments later, his expression thunderous. "I'm handling it," he said. She looked up at him, eyes brimming. "But they've already made their story. They don't care what's real." He knelt beside her, despite the difficulty, his hand cupping her cheek. "They don't get to write our story, Ella. We do." That morning, Liam called an emergency board meeting, virtually, from the comfort of the Whitmore Estate Library. His publicist begged him to deny the story, to salvage his image. His legal team asked if the relationship was strategic or emotional. One executive even suggested it might be time to discuss a clean separation agreement. Liam silenced them all. He leaned into the camera, voice calm but sharp. "Ella is carrying my children. Triplets. She is the woman I love. And anyone who has a problem with that can submit their resignation before noon." The room went quiet. Ella, watching from behind the curtain, covered her mouth. He chose her. In front of everyone. In the days that followed, Liam's declaration went viral, but not in the way Ella feared. Surprisingly, most of the public adored the story. She stayed when the world left him. A nurse who loved beyond her duty. Triplets in triumph, the new Whitmore era. Even news outlets began spinning the romance as inspirational. Commenters flooded Liam's social pages with congratulations. Fan art popped up. One TikTok even recreated their piano room kiss with actors. But not everyone was happy. One afternoon, as Ella was leaving the clinic after a prenatal checkup, a black SUV blocked her path. Two women stepped out. Sharp. Cold. Wearing designer sunglasses and cruelty disguised as class. The taller one spoke first. "I'm Cassandra. I used to be very close with Liam. I thought I'd introduce myself to you." Ella stood her ground, calm but alert. "We just came to give you a little advice," the second woman added. "Liam is good at pretending he's moved on. But don't get too comfortable." Ella's pulse throbbed in her neck. Cassandra leaned in. "We both know this thing won't last. You'll be raising those kids alone while he goes back to his old life." Ella smiled tightly. "Then you clearly don't know him anymore." They laughed and walked away. But Ella's hand didn't stop shaking. That night, she told Liam. He listened silently, jaw tight. "You want me to make calls?" he asked. "No. I want you to hold me." He did. And as he wrapped his arms around her and pressed his lips against her forehead, Ella realized something: this wasn't just about love anymore. It was about home. A man she'd once nursed back to life, was now her strength. And she was his. The nursery came next. Liam insisted they design it together. Every night, they'd scroll catalogs, debating cribs and colors and mobiles. One evening, after a particularly hilarious argument about elephant wallpaper, Ella curled into his lap, awkward but warm, and whispered, "Do you ever think this is too good to be true?" Liam kissed her temple. "Every second. But then I feel them kick, and I know it's real." She placed his hand on her stomach. A tiny kick greeted him. His eyes lit up like stars, spinning the romance as inspirational. Commenters flooded Liam's social pages with congratulations. Fan art popped up. One TikTok even recreated their piano room kiss with actors. But not everyone was happy. One afternoon, as Ella was leaving the clinic after a prenatal checkup, a black SUV blocked her path. Two women stepped out. Sharp. Cold. Wearing designer sunglasses and cruelty disguised as class. The taller one spoke first. "I'm Cassandra. I used to be very close with Liam. I thought I'd introduce myself to you." Ella stood her ground, calm but alert. "We just came to give you a little advice," the second woman added. "Liam is good at pretending he's moved on. But don't get too comfortable." Ella's pulse throbbed in her neck. Cassandra leaned in. "We both know this thing won't last. You'll be raising those kids alone while he goes back to his old life." Ella smiled tightly. "Then you clearly don't know him anymore." They laughed and walked away. But Ella's hand didn't stop shaking. That night, she told Liam. He listened silently, jaw tight. Wallpaper, Ella curled into his lap, awkward but warm, and whispered, "Do you ever think this is too good to be true?" Liam kissed her temple. "Every second. But then I feel them kick, and I know it's real." She placed his hand on her stomach. A tiny kick greeted him. His eyes lit up like stars. Then came the health scare. It was 2 a.m. Ella woke with stabbing cramps. She called out. Liam rolled in instantly, panic etched into every line of his face. She couldn't breathe properly. The pain was sharp, rhythmic. He rushed her to the hospital, calling Grace on the way. Tests. Machines. Cold gel. Beeping monitors. And then, a heartbeat. 3 heartbeats. Strong. Steady. The doctor smiled. Braxton Hicks. Practice contractions. Nothing alarming. But with triplets, her body's working overtime. Bed rest is non-negotiable from now on. Liam nodded. She's not moving unless I carry her. Ella managed a weak laugh. But tears filled her eyes when he kissed her belly and whispered, "Slow down in there, okay? We've got time." Back at the estate, Liam transformed the sunroom into a cozy bed rest haven. Books, pillows, fresh fruit, soft music. And every day, he sat beside her, working on his laptop with one hand and holding her hand with the other. Sometimes they didn't speak. Sometimes they read together. Sometimes they just existed, together, in a peaceful silence neither of them ever thought they'd have. One night, as the rain danced gently on the windows, Liam looked at her and asked. "Will you marry me?" Ella froze. "I don't have a ring on me," he said quickly, "because nothing about us has been traditional. But I want every day with you. Every diaper. Every late night cry. Every laugh. Every scar." Tears spilled freely down her cheeks. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." The wedding was never supposed to be grand. Not in a mansion. Not under chandeliers. Just a quiet garden ceremony under the Nigerian sky, surrounded by close friends, family, and the faint rustling of leaves. Ella sat on a cream-colored cushioned chair in a loose off-white maternity gown, her belly rounded, glowing with life. She was 8 months along, and radiant. Liam rolled up beside her, wearing a traditional black agbada trimmed with gold, his eyes fixed on her as if he were seeing sunlight for the first time. The officiant didn't need a microphone. Everyone was listening. Holding their breath, really. Do you, Liam Adede? Whitmore, take this woman, Ella Amaka Monroe, as your wife. I do, Liam said before the words even finished. The crowd laughed softly. And do you, Ella, take this man, to be your husband? Ella's eyes filled. With everything I have. As the vows closed, a gentle wind swept through the flowers. It was as if the universe whispered its blessing. You may now kiss the bride. Liam leaned forward in his chair. Ella bent slightly, hand over her belly, and their lips met in a kiss that held promises, pain, and everything they'd survived. Applause rose. Cameras flashed. Vivian sobbed joyfully into her handkerchief. Grace was already planning baby shower decorations. But in the shadows, someone else watched. Later that night, at the reception held in the estate garden, lights twinkled above, and the air smelled of roses and roasted jollof. There was laughter. Music. Even dancing. Liam and Ella didn't join the dance floor, but they watched, hand in hand, hearts full. Then the man arrived. Tall. Smug. Dressed in navy blue. Chaik Namdi. Liam's former CFO. Once a friend, until he embezzled over 400 million Nigerian nairas before the accident. Liam had been too hurt, too distracted to pursue legal action. Until now. What are you doing here? Liam asked, his voice like steel. Ella stiffened. Chaik smiled. Just wanted to see the happy couple. And maybe, offer you one more deal. I don't deal with liars. Come on, Liam. You and I built that empire together. Without me, you wouldn't be the man you are today. I became a better man because you left. Chaik's expression darkened. Enjoy your fairy tale while it lasts, he said. Because the moment those kids are born, the real test begins. He left. Ella turned to Liam. Should we be worried? No, Liam said. Because this time, I'm not facing him alone. A week later, Ella woke to a strange pressure in her back. Then another wave. Then her water broke. Panic erupted. Vivian shouted instructions. Grace grabbed the hospital bag. Greta cried and laughed at the same time. Liam called ahead to the hospital. As they drove, Ella gripped Liam's hand in the back seat. I'm scared, she whispered. He kissed her fingers. So am I. But we're doing this together. The delivery room was a blur of white coats and monitors. Ella pushed. And pushed. And cried. Liam never let go of her hand. Not once. Then. A cry. And another. And then, one more. 3 cries. 3 lives. 3 pieces of their love, made flesh. The doctor laughed breathlessly. Congratulations. You have 3 perfectly healthy babies, 2 boys and a girl. Ella broke into sobs. Liam wept beside her. They named them. Nathaniel, for strength. Ezra, for light. Eliana, for grace. When they returned home, a golden plaque was mounted on the nursery door. Whitmore House, where love made room for 3. The silence in the house didn't last long. Within days of coming home from the hospital, the estate that once echoed with emptiness now pulsed with life. Tiny cries. Soft lullabies. Late-night bottle warmers humming. And diapers, everywhere. 3 babies meant 3 different cries, 3 different needs, and often 3 different wake-up times. Ella quickly learned that sleep was a luxury. She hadn't brushed her hair in 3 days. Her nightgown always had at least one stain. And she couldn't remember the last time she sat without holding something, or someone. But oh, the joy. Every little stretch. Every yawn. Every blink of those innocent eyes made her heart swell beyond reason. She and Liam had created miracles. One evening, as twilight painted the nursery in soft hues of gold and blue, Ella stood by the crib humming softly to Eliana while Nathaniel and Ezra dozed. Liam watched from the doorway. She looked exhausted. Hair tied in a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes, shoulders heavy. Yet she was beautiful, not because she was perfect, but because she was present. "Hey," he said softly, rolling toward her. She turned, eyes red. "I think I'm failing." He frowned. "What?" "I can't keep up. I'm always behind. The bottles aren't sterilized. I forgot to eat today. And I yelled at Grace when she brought me lunch. I don't even recognize myself." Liam gently took her hand. "Ella, you are not failing. You're just a mother." She sank into the rocking chair, tears spilling. He wheeled beside her and rested his hand over hers. "I know I can't do all the physical stuff," he said, "but I'm here. I'll change every diaper I can. I'll be your hands when yours are full. Just don't shut me out." She nodded through the tears. "Promise me something. Anything. If I break down again, you'll still look at me the same way." "I'll look at you with more love," he whispered. And he meant it. Their nights became a dance of teamwork. Liam had a new setup beside the crib, a sleek, custom-built station that let him feed, burp, and soothe the babies from his chair. Grace nicknamed it Daddy Control Tower. Vivian took over laundry. Greta became the bottle boss. Even Edward showed up with groceries and a rare smile. Their home didn't just grow louder. It grew closer. But with joy came fear. One rainy afternoon, Ezra stopped breathing for 2 terrifying seconds. Ella screamed. Liam froze. Grace rushed forward. By the time the ambulance came, Ezra had started crying again, a good sign. It turned out to be reflux. Common. Manageable. But the moment haunted them. That night, Liam sat alone by Ezra's crib while the baby slept peacefully. His voice was barely a whisper. "You scared me today, little man." He reached out and brushed his son's cheek. "I can't lose any of you. You, your brother, your sister, your mom. You're everything." He stayed up all night, watching. Ella found him there at dawn, still in his chair, eyes heavy. "Did you sleep?" she asked. "No." "Why not?" "I made a promise," he said, "to never take this family for granted." Ella knelt in front of him, placed Ezra in his arms, and leaned her head on his shoulder. "Then let's promise each other," she whispered. "To keep showing up, tired, flawed, messy, but still here." He nodded. "Deal." The Whitmore estate was peaceful again, at least, on the surface. Triplets now 3 months old, their little personalities had begun to shine. Ezra loved music, his tiny fingers always tapping along to melodies. Nathaniel was the curious one, forever turning his head toward voices. And Eliana? She was the queen of smiles, her grin lighting up every room she entered. But even in joy, the past has a way of finding its way back. It started with a letter. Liam found it taped to the estate gate. Elegant handwriting. No return address. Everything you love can be taken. Just like your legs were. Greta gasped when she read it. Grace nearly tore it in half. But Liam just stood there, silent, staring at the paper as if it were written in flames. "Chike," he finally said. Ella froze. "The man from the wedding? He's not finished." That night, Liam called a family meeting. "We need security," he said. "Not just cameras. People. Trained professionals. Do you really think he'd do something?" Grace asked. He's obsessed with control, Liam replied. And I have what he wanted, peace. Ella sat quietly, rocking Eliana in her arms. Her heart beat too fast. She looked around at the people who had become her world, and all she could think was, please, don't let this fall apart. Within days, 2 ex-military guards were stationed at the front and back gates. Greta locked all windows each evening. Vivian, who had once hated cell phones, now carried one at all times. Liam watched it all unfold, calm on the outside but storming within. He couldn't protect Ella from the pain of childbirth. He couldn't protect Ezra from reflux. But this threat? He would stand in front of it with everything he had left. One quiet afternoon, Ella stepped out onto the garden terrace with the babies while Liam was in a virtual board call. She was humming to herself, feeling the soft breeze on her cheeks, when she saw the flash of movement by the back fence. A man in a cap. Watching. Before she could speak, he vanished. She rushed inside, clutching Eliana to her chest. Her knees nearly gave out. Liam wheeled toward her the moment he saw her face. What happened? There was someone. At the back fence. Watching us. He didn't speak. He simply turned toward Grace. Call the guards. Lock the house. Now. That night, Ella couldn't sleep. She lay curled on the bed beside Liam, listening to the soft static from the baby monitor. He reached for her hand in the dark. I feel like this is my fault, she whispered. It's not. He's after you. And now, because I'm yours, he's after us. I won't let anything happen to you, he said. I swear it. She leaned into him. I never wanted money, Liam. Just you. You and the babies. That's all. And you have us, he whispered. Forever. The next day, Liam received a strange email from a blocked address. Attached was a photo, Ella at the hospital, visibly pregnant. And the message. You won't always be fast enough. Liam's hands shook as he called the private investigator he had on standby. I need eyes on Chike. I want every move tracked. He shows his face anywhere near my family, I want him behind bars. Yes, sir, came the reply. Weeks passed. No more letters. No more sightings. Just peace again, brittle peace. But one thing had changed. Ella now always kept one of the triplets with her, even if it was just in the kitchen. Grace never left the compound without backup. And Liam? Liam started physical therapy again, not for walking, but for strength. To fight, if he ever had to. One stormy night, while the rain pounded the windows and the babies slept in their cribs, Ella whispered. Do you ever regret loving me? Liam blinked. Never. I brought danger to your doorstep. You brought life to it. You brought color. You brought love. She leaned in and kissed his lips softly. Then whatever comes, she said, we'll face it together. And for a moment, even the thunder grew quiet. The sun rose quietly over the Whitmore estate, painting the sky in soft pastels. Inside the nursery, Liam gently rocked Ezra in his arms while Eliana cooed from her crib and Nathaniel babbled at the hanging stars above him. These moments, ordinary and intimate, were the ones he treasured most. But the peace wouldn't last. The private investigator returned with news. Chike's been digging, he said. He's been talking to reporters. Attempting to gain custody leverage. He's spreading lies, Liam. That you're unfit. That Ella manipulated you. That you're not mentally stable after the accident. Liam's jaw clenched. He's building a case. He's bluffing, Ella insisted later that night. He's angry because you moved on. He won't stop, Liam said, voice low. Not until he's dragged your name through the mud, and put our kids in the middle of it. A week later, it began. A headline appeared on a notorious gossip site. Inside the Whitmore scandal, love, money, and the nurse who took it all. Photos of Ella, heavily pregnant, entering the hospital. A still of her at the wedding. And a twisted narrative that painted her as a manipulator, and Liam as her helpless pawn. Ella read the article in silence. Then closed the laptop. "I want to hold a press conference," she said. Liam turned sharply. "What?" "I'm tired of hiding. Of being the quiet one. They want to paint me as weak. Let them hear my voice." The press event was held in a quiet community center. No red carpet. No stage lights. Just a podium, a microphone, and Ella standing in a soft cream dress. With her 3 babies resting in carriers beside her. Liam sat just off to the side, his hand clenched on his wheelchair's rim. Ella's voice rang out strong and steady. "I fell in love with a man who had nothing left to give the world except his honesty. His heart. His strength. I didn't marry money, I married courage." She looked down at her children. And these 3 lives were born from love. Not strategy. Not scandal. Love. The room was quiet. Then the applause came. Some reporters teared up. Others set their cameras down. The truth had a sound, and it echoed louder than lies. Later that evening, Liam looked at her across the dining table. "You didn't just defend me today," he said. "You defended us." Ella smiled. "I wasn't defending. I was claiming what's mine." He reached across the table and took her hand. "Let's finish this fight." She squeezed his hand. "Let's finish it together." But just as the storm seemed to calm, another blow landed. Chike filed a formal suit. Attempting to challenge Liam's mental and physical fitness as a parent. Grace lost it when the court papers arrived. Vivian nearly fainted. Even Edward, usually composed, muttered curses Liam had never heard from him before. "I'll fight it," Liam said calmly. "I'll fight it with you," Ella added. On the day of the hearing, Ella sat in the courtroom holding Eliana. Liam rolled in beside her. Across from them, Chike sat smugly with his lawyer, whispering with confidence. The judge entered. The trial began. Liam was asked questions, about his accident, his therapy, his role as a father. He answered each one with composure and strength. Then it was Ella's turn. "Do you believe your husband is capable of raising your children?" the attorney asked coldly. She stood, holding Eliana to her chest. "My husband is the most capable man I've ever met. I've watched him rise from depression, pain, and abandonment to become a father, a partner, and a protector. If parenting is about love and sacrifice, then no one is more qualified than him." The courtroom murmured. The judge didn't need long. He ruled in their favor. Chike was warned to stay away. Ella collapsed into Liam's arms outside the courthouse. They had won. Not just a case. But their dignity. Their family. Their right to peace. The court battle may have ended, but the emotional toll remained like dust after a storm, settled in the corners, quiet but present. Liam began therapy again, not just physical, but emotional. He'd spent so long proving he was strong, he'd forgotten that real strength included rest, softness, honesty. Ella noticed the change. He spoke more now. Laughed more freely. And sometimes, he cried without apology. She cherished those moments. Because they mirrored her own. Ella had scars too, ones not left by blades but by doubt, judgment, and the endless pressure to be enough. Some days, she woke up afraid. Afraid she wasn't doing motherhood right. Afraid she wasn't doing marriage right. But Liam was always there. One morning, she stood by the mirror, braiding her hair while holding Eliana on her hip. She caught her reflection, and didn't recognize the woman staring back. She wasn't the quiet nurse anymore. She wasn't the girl from the apartment. She was a mother. A wife. A warrior. And she'd earned her crown. That same week, Liam hosted a private dinner with his closest friends and partners. He stood at the head of the long table, a baby monitor in one hand, his wedding ring glinting in the candlelight. "I built a company," he said, "but my real legacy is upstairs sleeping in matching pajamas." Laughter. Applause. "I used to think I lost everything. Turns out, I was just being stripped of the things that didn't matter." He turned to Ella. "And now, I finally have everything I never knew I needed." She beamed, her eyes glassy with pride. The twins started crawling. Eliana babbled, "Dada." Ezra discovered how to open drawers. Life was chaos, and magic. One afternoon, Liam surprised Ella with a necklace. It was simple, elegant, 3 small pendants, each engraved with a child's name. "I couldn't give you diamonds," he said, "but I can give you meaning." She burst into tears. "You gave me everything," she whispered. "And you are everything." Then came the magazine cover. A reputable African lifestyle journal ran a full feature. "Healing Together, the Whitmore family's journey through love, disability, and legacy." The photo shoot showed the family in soft, candid moments, Liam holding all 3 babies at once, Ella laughing as Nathaniel tugged her scarf, the 5 of them on a picnic blanket under a tree. The cover quote: "I'm not less of a man. I'm more of one, because I learned how to love without walls." Liam Whitmore. The article went viral. Not for scandal, but for hope. In the final scene of that month's chapter of their lives, Liam sat in the garden, holding Ezra while Nathaniel slept beside him and Eliana curled on his lap. Ella stepped outside, barefoot, humming. "You good?" she asked. He looked at her, eyes soft. "I've never been better." She walked over and knelt beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. In silence, surrounded by 3 tiny heartbeats and one great love, they let the breeze speak for them. A year had passed. 12 months of first steps. First words. First birthdays. The Whitmore estate, once a fortress of solitude, now echoed with giggles, toy wheels clacking across marble floors, and the symphony of 3 toddler voices calling "Mama" and "Dada." Liam sat at the edge of the garden fountain, watching the kids waddle toward a sun-drenched blanket where Ella was setting down a plate of fruit. He had one foot braced on his chair pedal and a bottle of apple juice in his lap. He'd long since mastered dad mode. Ezra made it to him first, grinning and crashing into Liam's leg with a triumphant squeal. "Slow down, buddy," Liam laughed, lifting him. Ezra immediately wrapped his arms around his neck and planted a wet kiss on his cheek. Ella looked up and smiled. "I'll never get tired of that view." Liam wheeled toward her, holding Ezra like a prize. "Neither will I." The business had changed too. Liam had stepped back from day-to-day operations. He now ran a family-centered innovation hub focused on accessibility tech, including adaptive baby care tools. One of his prototypes. A voice-activated crib system that adjusted height and rocking speed. Inspired by nights he couldn't lift all 3 babies fast enough, now it was changing lives. Ella, on the other hand, had launched her own maternal care initiative, Mothers Who Rise. A safe space foundation supporting women navigating postpartum recovery, single motherhood, and silent emotional battles. She gave talks. Led support circles. Became the voice she once needed. And Liam? He never missed a single event. That autumn, they took their first real vacation as a family. Just a quiet beachside house in Ghana. On the 3rd night, they stood on the balcony, the ocean humming beneath them. Liam, holding Eliana close, whispered, "Do you ever miss who we used to be?" Ella looked up, eyes misty. "No," she said softly. Because who we are now, is who we fought to become. Their days fell into rhythms of joy. Storytime in the mornings, with Liam acting out every animal voice. Midday naps with 3 babies napping in different directions. Weekend family brunches where Grace showed up with a new boyfriend each time. Evening tea with Vivian, who never let them forget that God writes the best plot twists. And in the stillness of night, when the babies were asleep and the house had gone quiet, Liam and Ella would curl up in bed, whispering about everything and nothing. Sometimes they'd cry. Sometimes they'd just breathe. But they always ended those nights with the same 3 words. We made it. On the twins' first birthday, Ella stood before a small gathering in the garden. Balloons waved gently. A cake shaped like 3 clouds sat on the table. She looked at their friends, family, and the 3 tiny humans who had changed her forever. When I first met Liam, I thought he was the one who needed saving, she began. But it turns out, he was the anchor I didn't know I needed. And our children? They're proof that broken pieces can build something whole. She looked down at Liam, who was trying, and failing, to stop Eliana from smearing icing into her curls. And now, no matter what comes next, I know we'll face it the same way we faced everything before, with love, grit, and grace. As the sun dipped and the babies napped, Liam took Ella's hand. Happy 1 year of everything changing. Ella smiled. And everything becoming beautiful. He kissed her fingers. To the life we built. She leaned her head on his shoulder. And together, they sat in the quiet of the garden. The cradle of their scars, the throne of their grace, and the proof that love, when true, rewrites every ending. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more. Thank you. Until the next story.